Coming up in today's video, we're going to be talking about a variety of topics, including new AEW signings. It looks like they're keeping it quiet. Also, a top AEW star missing out on Revolution, and so much more. We got WWE and AEW. It's all coming up in this video. If you guys want more videos like this, don't forget to click that subscribe button and ring that bell. This way you never miss a video on the channel. I want to kick things off today talking about AEW and some new signings. I thought this was actually really interesting that nobody has figured out the names and nobody has reported on the names. However, several signings have been made for AEW. Now, keep in mind, in the past month or so, AEW has signed Andrade. They've brought in the Rascals, which includes Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz. They've signed Alex Price and Jordan Oliver, Maya World, Hyan, Zeta Steel, and now Clark Connors. Also, just a while ago, Tate Vick, I think is how it's pronounced, the independent wrestler. She signed with the company in the fall of 2025, and we just found out about that recently. So they've added so many new signings that they've made public. But what's actually really interesting, Fightful has come out with a report, and they've been told that AEW is still expanding its roster and making signings, with specific additions to be made to the women's roster fairly soon. While the exact names remain unconfirmed, the outlet reports that there are a number of talents that are already signed but have not yet been made public. Now, that is a very, very interesting move. But AEW considers this as a move to freshen up the roster. Now, I just want to be very clear here for those who are completely unaware. AEW did lose a lot of talent. They didn't re-sign quite a bit of talent. The Righteous, Vincent and Dutch, we both know, they've gone to TNA. Matt Taven, he left the company. Abaddon, Zach Knight, Layla Hirsch, Saraya, Ray Phoenix, Miro, Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, Mercedes Martinez, Alex Abrahantes. Like, they have had quite a few departures from the company. And obviously none of those have been made relatively a big deal, but it is important that we talk about this, largely just due to the fact that AEW, I think a lot of us are forgetting how much talent they have in the company, but also how much talent have left the company. And that's actually a good thing, because now if AEW is making new signings, it kind of freshens up the roster, which is exactly what is indicated on that report from Fightful. So I find this to be a fascinating story, but I'm really curious, really just who is in the company. And I don't know why the dirt sheets have not been able to find out this kind of information. That is one thing I just simply don't understand. Keep in mind, in recent months, too, AEW did confirm the dual contract signings of Hechicero and Persephone with CMLL. So, they have these agreements where people can work for New Japan and AEW. They can work for CMLL and AEW. But it looks like these people that are coming into the company have been secretly signed, and nobody knows who they are. Now, for AEW, they are always going to be critiqued for the amount of signings that they make, especially when talent come from WWE. I think naturally that's how the IWC operates. On the other hand, though, as I've said through countless videos on this channel, yeah, both of these companies, they have a bloated roster, but when talent leave one for the other, it does create room for potential dream matchups and some really fresh matchups and storylines that maybe we wouldn't have gotten before. So I think the criticism isn't necessarily valid anymore. I think for Tony Khan and AEW, you have to freshen up your roster. I think for AEW, you also have to utilize your roster correctly. You have a lot of guys coming in, and I just want to say this. Last night's Dynamite on February 4th was probably the best Dynamite they have ever produced when it comes to booking decisions. I do not see one booking decision that was made that was wrong. They literally had Andrade go over Kenny Omega. And keep in mind, Andrade is the new addition to the company, right? So you got to factor that in. Brody King squashed MJF. So these are the kind of things that I think are really, really good for AEW. And it just seems like they're kind of freshening up the talent that they use. And, we haven't even mentioned, I didn't even mention the signing of Jake Something. Jake Something came in and immediately put into a tag team with Mark Davis and immediately, going after the tag titles and stuff of that nature. I think it's great. Tommaso Ciampa, another example, comes in right away, big start for the TNT Championship. I think for AEW, if you're going to make signings, you got to have plans for them. Maybe Tony Khan has learned, because it seems like all of these new signings that they've made, I do believe to a certain extent, they have been utilized properly. And I just think that's a very, very good thing for AEW. This was a criticism that I had 2-3 years ago. But in 2026, it seems like Tony Khan finally figured it out. And that's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing. So I'm super excited about that. Now, the question is, who is actually on the list? Who is actually joining the company? We don't know. And I'm sorry to tell you guys that. I know you guys watch this video and you want to know who it is, but the truth is we don't know. It's being kept in secret. So my assumption is that these aren't big name free agents. They are not big name free agents. I feel like if they were big name free agents, we would have found out by now. However, I will say, for the sake of this video, if I had to guess which women are joining the company, look no further than the Inspiration, aka the Iconics. We know they just left TNA, and there was rumors that WWE and AEW were both interested in them. So I'm just saying there was interest there. Things are being kept a secret. Perhaps it is very true that maybe they're there. Now, with that being said, guys, AEW making these signings, it's a big deal for the company because they are spending a lot of money. You know, you got to be careful how much money you spend. But Tony Khan, he is very, very happy with this company, and he's very happy being in the wrestling business. So because of that reason, I do have a little bit of confidence that Tony Khan is being proactive, and he is, in fact, being smart about this. And the truth is, that's the right way to go about it. If you're Tony Khan, you got to be passionate about it because you're not going to make a lot of money initially, and you got to invest in talent. And I think Tony Khan's kind of got the right idea here. I think WWE has the right idea here, and it just seems to be, you know, best of both worlds. And look, guys, there's going to be talent leaving WWE for AEW. It's just going to happen. It's inevitable. So it's not a bad thing. We'll see who signed. When they do announce it, I will let you guys know. So make sure you guys click subscribe. So let's talk about AEW Revolution, because apparently a top star is missing the show, which I am a little disappointed by. I'm not going to lie. I can't lie about it, but it is true. Kenny Omega may very well not be at AEW Revolution. Now, this is coming from Dave Meltzer. He says that Omega is locked into a major esports event in Japan during the exact weekend that AEW Revolution takes place. The former AEW World Champion is set to appear at Capcom Cup 12 in Tokyo, which is a 5-day Street Fighter 6 tournament with a staggering $1 million prize on the line. Now, the tournament runs from March 11th through March 15th, with AEW Revolution scheduled for Sunday, March 15th in Los Angeles. Now, with that being said, Kenny Omega has actually officially been confirmed for a meet and greet event on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the Cups finals typically occur on the final day, which is the day of Revolution. Now, how do we know we could trust Dave Meltzer? Well, the truth is, guys, you never really know if you could trust Dave Meltzer, but if you do use a little bit of common sense, Kenny Omega just lost to Andrade last night, and that was a great way of booking. Andrade going over Kenny Omega is great. They left room for them to have another match, which I think is the best part about it. I just think based on that likely outcome of that match, I think with Kenny losing, yeah, Kenny probably won't be at AEW Revolution. And quite frankly, AEW, I know this is going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but AEW no longer need Kenny Omega. They don't need Chris Jericho. They don't need the Young Bucks. They don't even need Hangman Page. Quite frankly, AEW has figured it out with this new roster that they have. And I don't know. I don't really see a problem with that. Now, I think, and I genuinely mean this, I think Kenny Omega is better suited as the Roman Reigns of the company. He doesn't need to be on every week. He doesn't need to be in a major storyline all the time. But when you need Kenny Omega, you call Kenny Omega. No different than when you call Roman Reigns. And the truth is, Roman Reigns has become this like huge part-timer. But when he shows up, it's a big deal. So if I'm Tony Khan, I'm trying to replicate that with Kenny Omega. And there's two reasons for it. One, Kenny Omega is literally like the GOAT. That's like personal opinion. But yeah, to me, he's the GOAT, right? But the second reason is because we know of his history with his health issues. And because we know of his history with his health issues, not having him every week is actually a perfect balance. And by the way, Kenny Omega is still a very big name in Japan. So when there is something happening in Japan, let Kenny Omega go out there. Let him go out there. Because the truth is, it's not that big of a deal. But for AEW, if you're smart and you utilize Kenny Omega in these special moments and these part-time status, if you do that with Kenny Omega, people will want to see Kenny Omega more. See, the problem with professional wrestling is sometimes wrestlers are overexposed. And it's very bad when people are overexposed in an oversaturated market. But the truth is, with Kenny Omega in this particular situation, you will solve tons of problems. With Kenny Omega being off of TV, yeah, your focus probably should be on Andrade. It should be on Tommaso Ciampa. It should be on Swerve Strickland. And we know that Will Ospreay is coming back, so when Will Ospreay comes back, the focus should be on Will Ospreay. Hey, there's another name that I haven't mentioned. And that other name is Kyle Fletcher. If you want Kyle Fletcher to rise to the top of the card, there's only one way to do that. You have to make room for him. And when guys at the top of the card are taking a break from television, you now allow for a guy like Kyle Fletcher to assume that position. Same thing could be said for Konosuke Takeshita. So I think for AEW, this is the right way to go about it. And with Kenny Omega missing Revolution, I definitely don't think it's that big of a deal. I really don't. And what I would do after Revolution is immediately have Kenny go after Andrade again. And let's build a major match for Double or Nothing. Imagine a singles match between Kenny Omega and Andrade for 25 minutes at Double or Nothing. That would be a really, really, really good match. So, and you could tell a really good story because they're already telling a story there. It just makes too much sense. All right, probably the last time I talk about AJ Styles until his next career move is officially announced, but AJ Styles was on the Stephanie McMahon podcast addressing his retirement. And more specifically, he took off his gloves, put them back on, and ran back into the ring to celebrate with the crowd. So what exactly did that mean? Well, from AJ Styles himself, he confirmed never say never. And if you're an AEW or TNA fan, you're probably excited about this, but let's not get your hopes up because the truth is, he says, I don't know. Never say never, right? That's the saying. I think everybody's allowed at least once to come out of retirement. I'm not saying that I'll do it anytime soon. So if we are to take AJ Styles for his word, I think you have your answer. He is legitimately retired. However, there is a however, and there is a huge but. Yeah, AJ Styles says he's leaving the door open if his son wrestles. He says, what if my son wrestles? The opportunity to tag with him once, you never know. So there will be a time when the gloves never go back on. It may be now, but we'll see. We'll see. That's what he's saying. AJ Styles is saying that's what we'll see. Listen, AJ is hands down one of the greatest. I don't care what anybody says. I think Triple H made the point of like the way people respect and honor Shawn Michaels. Like that's the kind of influence AJ Styles has on the world of professional wrestling. I agree with that 100%. The truth is, man, I feel like in a way, maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, maybe I'm wrong. But I do think to a certain extent that not only is that 100% true, but I think AJ needs to be given his flowers right off the rip. I think so. I think this guy needs to be given his flowers right off the rip. Because this is a man who he's experienced so much in professional wrestling. He's done so many great things in professional wrestling. And I think a lot of people took my comments wrong when I say I don't desire AJ to go to AEW. I don't even desire AJ to go back to TNA. And that's who made AJ Styles. And I'm sorry, but I'm going to say this for the millionth time for those who I have offended. It's not about companies. AJ built his career in TNA and then went to WWE. Okay? I don't desire to see him retire and then show up a week later in AEW or New Japan in TNA. And I've read the comments. You guys have left the comments and you guys said, Ango, you don't want to see AJ versus Will Ospreay? You don't want to see this? You don't want to see that? You don't want to see him versus... No. When I see a wrestler retire and put their career on the line, I don't want to see them show up in another company. Of course, I want to see AJ Styles versus Leon Slater, AJ Styles versus Mike Santana, AJ Styles versus Will Ospreay. Of course, I want to see those matches. I also wanted to see Sting versus Undertaker. Incredibly bad. We never got it. And sometimes that's okay. But for a wrestler to retire from WWE and then show up in another company like a month later, I'm not for that, dude. I'm not. And I'm giving you guys a fan's perspective. AJ is a grown-ass fucking man. He could do whatever the hell he wants to do. And you know what? AJ, if you want to go to AEW, you can go to AEW. You've earned it. You've earned the ability to go to AEW. But I am not going to sit here and act like I desire that. I'm sorry. You know, it's really rich coming from Ricochet talking about talent and legacies. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Ricochet has been going off on a tangent about Sami Zayn losing his legacy compared to El Generico and all of these different things. I don't know if the man is just a master at rage baiting or what he's doing, but if you guys are aware of the comments that Ricochet has been making on social media about WWE killing people's legacies, I don't think that could be said for AJ Styles. AJ went from TNA to New Japan to WWE, and I think his career ended perfectly. And it was very full circle. It was beautiful. It ended at the Royal Rumble, where he debuted for the WWE. So, personally speaking, it's just the way it is, and I'm not going to change my mind at all. I want to switch gears to a WWE star taking time off, and this one is actually kind of interesting because for those who watch WWE Evolve, you know that this person has so much potential. You know that this person is somebody who more than likely will be a big star in the WWE system. And we're talking about Kelly Armstrong. Now, Kelly Armstrong has been suffering some losses on WWE Evolve. She's been suffering some losses. I think she's lost like 4 or 5 straight matches, which is really shocking. But Kelly Armstrong, yeah. She says, I got to get that dog back in me. That dog that got me to USC. That dog that had me running circles around these chicks on my way to becoming Evolve Women's Champion. The truth is, Kelly Armstrong doesn't really need to be on Evolve. I feel like she should be one of the centerpieces on NXT with Kendall Gray. I don't think she needs to be on Evolve at all. And I'm actually hoping that this break that she's going to be taking, this time off that she's going to be taking, results in 2 things. I think have her take a break from professional wrestling if she needs to. Whatever. If there's like a personal issue that needs to be taken care of, go ahead and take care of it, right? But I would have her off TV for a month or 2, have her as part of the NXT roster. Robert Stone is the new GM for NXT. He's the interim GM. Obviously, we know his history with covering Evolve. Give her a month time off or whatever you got to do. Have her come back with this repackaged character. She's ready. She doesn't need to be on Evolve. And let's call it what it is. Evolve is... There's something very special about this Evolve to NXT system. You know, and I think Kelly Armstrong is a perfect example of this. I thought Kendall Gray was a perfect example of this. I think there's some talent in Evolve who actually have a really good future in professional wrestling. And I think when you look at Kelly Armstrong, she could take a break, come back, be presented a little bit differently, and she'll be fine. I really do. I really genuinely believe in my heart she'll be fine. And I think WWE should be repackaging her. I think WWE should be considering the idea of maybe giving her a little bit more freshened character. I feel like when you're in Evolve, you can't be in Evolve for a very long time. I don't think that's possible. Either you have it or you don't. And I think I think you could tell with like Kendall Gray, for example, she's immediately becoming a big threat in NXT. At some point, she's got to drop that belt, and she will, but she's got to be a full-timer in NXT. Which, by the way, Kendall Gray is ready for like the main roster. And I think the same thing could be said about Callie Armstrong. So I think if Callie Armstrong comes into NXT, that's a good sign. Now, if Callie Armstrong comes back to Evolve, maybe WWE doesn't see it in her. But I don't think that's the case. I think WWE officials see it in her. I've heard specifically that WWE has been pretty impressed with a few people from Evolve, and obviously Callie Armstrong and Kendall Gray come to mind. I think you gotta factor that in. So whatever it may be, hopefully it's nothing serious. Hopefully it's nothing bad, but I do want to see her back, and hopefully it comes with a new character, new presentation, and hopefully she's just done with Evolve altogether and gets called up to NXT. Could WWE be bringing back house shows? It's interesting. WWE went away from house shows. Clearly a money move by TKO. Now, Cody Rhodes, and by the way, plenty of other talent have spoken up about this, but Cody Rhodes himself is coming out publicly talking about. He pitched the return of a new format for house shows. So he said this on the What Do You Want to Talk About podcast. He explained the reason for why he wants house shows. He says he misses the rhythm and culture of the old schedule. He argues that the current model, while perhaps better for rest, can make it difficult for the roster to feel like a cohesive unit. He's not the only one who said this. Bayley has said this. Other talent have said this. It's a very, very, very interesting thing, but it is somewhat true in the sense that not having that schedule really sucks. And I think for WWE, bringing back house shows is the right move. And I think WWE should, in fact, bring back house shows. And I think if WWE brings back house shows, that would be the right move for WWE, because not only do you get the talent opportunity to stay fresh, get rid of ring rust, but it's an opportunity to experiment with talent and to allow them to go out there and to try and to get things over and things of that nature. And I think that's what WWE needs to do. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching The Ango Show.